Unite.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to We the People Unite. I'm Kim Page, and the team is here. We have August and Maureen and Andrea, Keisha, Mo, Anitra, and Katie's joining us tonight. Katie, we've missed you.
I missed you guys too. It's great
We
to be
haven't
back.
seen you.
It's been crazy.
It's good to see you here. So how's everybody?
Doing okay.
Hanging in there?
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah. Another day in a dream.
We're alive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So tonight we're going to talk about a topic. Parts of it will be difficult. But the big question is, who's protecting the children in all this chaos? Because we're seeing more and more that our children are not being protected. And not just the little ones, but our young ladies too, that we're going to talk about with the Epstein files. So just to kind of kick everything off, we're asking the really difficult question of who's protecting the children and frankly, who's using them? Because we're seeing that too. Our children are being used as pawns in some cases, as bait in some cases. So the conversation has really prompted me to think about the recent developments in the reporting involving children, from immigration detention, as well as renewed attention to the long-standing failures of accountability in the abuse cases involving powerful individuals. And we know who they are. So tonight, we'll look at two cases, but really ongoing in both, not just individual cases, but the overall. They seem unrelated on the surface, but it involves children held in state custody under immigration enforcement, including the role of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And the other involves powerful individuals whose crimes against minors were long known, but inadequately confronted, and that's Jeffrey Epstein. So obviously, we're not going to compare the suffering. We're examining really the structure, right? We're asking who benefits from the way these systems are designed and who is shielded from the consequences. And why is accountability so often not found? I mean, there has been, how long has this Epstein thing been going on?
It's more than Epstein, and it's the money. It's a money grab. Yeah. It's all about money. If you follow the money, the more money and power you have, then you can do what you want to do. And that's the truth. As you see, we have two different Americas right now. One where, one person gets charged for this one, and then the powerful get charged for nothing for doing the exact same thing. And when you stand up to it, they get shut down. They come up missing. We still didn't make Boeing accountable for the dude that came up missing after he told on everybody. Little things like that we just let go. And so, because people are frightened, and I get it, but it's set up to destroy, and they don't care about the children.
The thing that scares me is this has been going on for decades, and is more than likely still going on now. And that's what scares me.
Trump started off with 1.4 billion, and now he's up to 4 billion, and that's signing the agreement with the Saudi Arabians.
So we know the corruption is behind a lot. We know the power is behind a lot. And that's what I want to focus on. What are the patterns, right? What are the incentives that we're looking at? And understanding that power doesn't require, and this I want to make sure very clear, that we have to absorb this emotion or cruelty. It's about the clarity of trying to get accountability. And what are our civic obligations? And I don't mean our sitting here, I mean citizens. What are our obligations in this? And what can we do to protect the children?
If you take it out of the government's context, I know it's an actual situation that happened in a small town but it was from a powerful person in a small town. So it's all layers of this. It's just the powerful person in the place in which they are. And so what happened was they knew it. And it wasn't until about 10, 15 years ago, somebody kind of helped me understand it. And they said the reason why they didn't do anything about it, because they would have to admit that the person they put in this position was a flawed individual, and then they were responsible for it. So better to let them flourish, and then everybody hands give each other a hand. And to this day, that person has never been prosecuted nor even brought in on questioning for crimes that
Before
are
we go
still
on,
continuing.
absolutely, Anitra. Before we go on, I want to say welcome to everybody in the chat. Thank you so much for joining us. We love having these conversations with you, and we love your comments and feedback. And what are your insights about these topics? So please, please, please chime in. Before we, I think I pulled up some of these things I want us to think about as we're looking at some clips and talking about the first topic, which is the children in state custody. So some of the questions are like, what duty of care does the state assume? What are they responsible for? And I mean state and federal, right? What are the responsibilities there? Where does oversight fail? And how does enforcement override welfare? And I'm not, we heard about these detention centers with the families and the kids in there going back to other administrations. So we've seen this before, but we did see families being separated from children more in Trump's first administration. But these are the things just to kind of keep in mind as we go through this. The first clip I want to play was actually, I didn't realize that The View has what's called Behind the Table. And I listened to Anna Navarro's interview, and the first part she talks about Dawn and that whole part, but she also goes into little Liam, the little boy that was the big story lately. And I want to have her talk about that a little bit.
To them, and I know you've been watching the story of 5-year-old Liam Ramos. This has been very important to you to follow and talk about on the show. And his father, Adrian, they were released over the weekend and able to return home, which is wonderful. What is notable to you about their story?
Everything. It is another act of performative, purposeful cruelty by these federal agents that frankly just have no business doing this. Look. So let's break this down. Liam Ramos and his father, his family, are from Ecuador. They came into this country legally through a program that existed under the Biden administration called CBP-1, where you registered and you presented yourself at the border. They have a pending political asylum application. That means they have a legal right to be here while that application is pending.
Right. They weren't
They
hiding.
are here
They weren't,
legally.
yeah.
They didn't cross the border illegally. They crossed legally. They did it the way that they were supposed to do it. And they are here legally while that application is processing. So they should have never been detained to begin with. But then ICE chases his father and grabs this 5-year-old boy with his little bunny beanie hat and his Spider-Man backpack and uses him as bait in the freezing Minnesota winter to lure his mother and sibling out of the house. They detain him and they send him to this detention center from hell, Dilley, in Texas. So Joaquin Castro, the congressman from San Antonio, who is a friend of mine and who I am incredibly grateful to because of his advocacy, because of his compassion, because of his heart, he demanded to be allowed into Dilley to go check in on Liam and the other kids there. Drove 85 miles to go to the Dilley Detention Center, stayed there for hours. When he was there visiting with Liam and his father, he found a completely lethargic boy, slept the entire time. I spoke to Joaquin Castro last week. Little Liam was in his father's arms, sleeping the entire time. This was going on at noon. Joaquin visited with the two of them from noon to 1 p.m. Joaquin, who's got his own small children, when we spoke, it was such a hard thing for him to have done. Because anytime you see a child like this, I think you think to yourself, there, but for the grace of God could go my child. And Joaquin told me about the dozens and dozens of children that he saw there, many of them looking sick, looking frail, looking lethargic. He talked to me about these little Egyptian girls that were holding on to his legs, begging him not to leave them there. He talked to me about the conditions in that detention center, which are deplorable. No child should be being held there, particularly no child being held without reason, like little Liam was. But so little Liam is released. Two things. One, this ghoulish, cruel government and administration is saying that they may appeal the judge's order. And the judge's order, I encourage people to go read it, is scathing against the government. I'll tell you. And the second thing is, so one, the fight for Liam may not be over. And two, there are hundreds of other Liams being held in detention centers around this country that we have to worry about and fight for. And one of the things that just gets my blood boiling, Brian, is we hear so many of these Trump supporters that forgive and justify anything he does. We hear them quote the Bible, and we hear them talk about how Christian they are, and we hear them advocate for the unborn. What about those that are born? What about the rights of those children to have an innocent childhood, to be with their mothers and fathers? So I would say to all of those cross-wearing administration members that go behind a podium and justify this unjustifiable act against this 5-year-old and so many other children, that they are hypocrites. And they really need to do some soul searching and look in the mirror, because you are no Christian if you are holding a 5-year-old for no reason and having that child in distress and then, justifying it. I mean, it's just disgusting.
We talked about.
Yes. I love Anna Navarro. She says it like it is.
Yeah, she does.
Like it is. So, around the table, thoughts. I know you all have been following the story. We do have a follow-up of an interview with the son and with the father and Liam. So we'll look at that in a little bit too.
I don't care. If you are a mother, I don't care what your race is, what your party affiliation is, what your religion is. If you see that and don't feel or see your own child in that position, I can't help you. Like, I don't know what's wrong with you, because I see that little boy and that little beanie, and all I see is my daughter. And how I would move the ends of the earth to get her back. And just thinking about when I saw those photos of him where he was like, his eyes weren't even open and he was so like lethargic, like my heart just breaks. And the fact that there's hundreds, if not thousands of other kids out there, like, why is this not a bigger story? And Anna was 100% right when she said that, like, these people are such hypocrites with their crosses and their pro-life bull. Well, their pro-life bull. It's like, oh, the babies. What about all these babies here now that are being tortured and malnourished? And it's like, they don't care. It doesn't matter.
They don't care. It's not like they don't care. They don't.
They said they're being physically assaulted already, and I wonder now, is that the reason they don't want us to have abortions, is because they want to use your children?
I think go ahead.
I was just thinking about how the line from the government initially was that Liam's father abandoned him.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't, couch it as they tried to use Liam to lure his father. They said that he abandoned his son. So they tried to paint him as like a derelict dad. And then that's what the MAGA crew started saying all over social media, which is absolutely disgusting. But I thought it was lovely that Senator Castro, he's a senator, right? Wrote Liam this lovely note when he got home that just basically said this is something that he'll probably remember for the rest of his life, but hopefully he can use this situation as a way to do good things in the future and not hold it against the entire country, because so many people have been in his corner and rooting for him and hoping for him to get home and writing to their elected officials trying to get him and his dad home. It was a lovely handwritten note. Just wanted to say that.
Well, it's just like Jehovah's Witnesses. They don't like having children because they said they don't want to bring them into this evil world.
Yeah. I want to go back to what you said, Keisha. I think Anna Navarro, we didn't continue with the clip there, but I believe she addressed that lie about the father abandoning him and said, he basically got out and was at the front of the car using his phone, trying to call somebody to come pick up Liam, or something to that effect. So, we know they lie. They lie about everything.
And the problem is this: what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing is that, and it's uncomfortable, but when you're brown, they don't want you around. I know it's like when you're brown, it's a brown child. So my superiority makes it okay. And people don't like to see it that way because they want to protect their Christianity, but it's a false Christianity because it only applies to people that look like them. People really sometimes, they devalue on a daily basis. I get devalued for my dark skin. I had it happen today. And I know that's why it was. And it was by somebody that's got brown skin as well, but it's lighter. So you got problems with them, but they really don't value it. As you see, black kids, Hispanic kids come up missing, indigenous kids come up missing. Which, name one that's been missing. Now name 4 white girls or a young white male that's been missing. It's easier to come by because they're pushed to the forefront. The United States has been doing that, and there's no consequences to it, so why change it?
So I agree. And you think at this time, we're in 2026, instead of moving forward, at some point you think we're moving forward. And I feel like we've taken 10 steps back from all the progress we've made.
Mm-hmm. We know.
And I don't understand it. I don't know. These men with power, we'll talk about them in a minute, but let's listen to a little bit about Liam and his father.
You'll recognize this image right here that got national attention. A small boy wearing a Spider-Man backpack, detained by federal agents in Minnesota, along with his father. They are back home after a federal judge ordered their release in a strongly worded ruling that condemned the government's conduct. John Quinones spoke with the father and son, was on the flight back home with them. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Robert. It was a very emotional flight from San Antonio to Minneapolis. A father and son headed home and a family reunited. Feliz means happy, and that's how Adrian Conejo Arias and his 5-year-old son Liam are feeling this morning, following their release from a Texas detention facility, spending more than a week in federal custody. ABC News exclusively joining the father and son on their journey back home to Minneapolis Sunday. Conejo Arias, originally from Ecuador, says they were arrested unjustly.
Es injusto que arresten a personas que solamente vienen a este país a luchar, a sacar adelante a su familia.
But now that they're going back home, Liam is looking forward to reuniting with his mother and his brother. The U.S. District Judge ordering the pair's release in a blistering ruling, writing that the case has its genesis in the ill-conceived and incompetently implemented government pursuit of daily deportation quotas, apparently, even if it requires traumatizing children. The judge, including the now viral image of Liam the day he was detained in his driveway, arriving home from preschool. Underneath the picture, 2 Bible verses, one of which is John 11:35. Jesus wept. Conejo Arias describing the conditions inside the detention facility as not great. They could not give him medicine? No le podían dar medicina?
No.
Alleging that Liam became sick while there and was denied medication. The father and son's detainment sparking national outcry. The Department of Homeland Security says ICE did not target or arrest a child, claiming that when agents went to arrest the father, he fled on foot, abandoning his child. El gobierno dice que abandonaste a tu niño. The government says you abandoned your son. I asked Adrian about that account. He tells me he was walking a few feet ahead of Liam, trying to alert people who would come out and who could help them. He says, I love my son too much. I would never abandon him. The judge also taking aim at some of the Trump administration's immigration enforcement tactics, writing, administrative warrants issued by the executive branch to itself do not pass probable cause muster. That is called the fox guarding the hen house. Families of the U.S. Adrian Conejo reminds us that his family is in the U.S. legally. They filed for asylum, and they have a court hearing set for that later this month. But the U.S. Justice Department vows to fight that. They want to see this family deported. George.
John, can you
Jeez, sorry, my mouse is doing weird things
They
tonight.
want them deported. Why on earth do they want that beautiful little boy and his wonderful father and family deported? And they've been trying to become legalized. Give them that opportunity. I'm so sick of all of this. I know I have my nephew has a wife who is not legal, and I won't go into detail, but he worries about her every day. She goes to work. These people don't deserve this whatsoever. They're human beings. They're lovely people. They want a good way of life. And why are we detaining these little children?
Stephen Miller.
The monster.
Is the name.
Houston,
Linda,
Texas,
you're right.
Houston, Texas has one of the largest child trafficking rings in the country. And the other thing about this is Abbott is complicit in all of this.
And they make money off these detention centers as well.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I've worked in the prison system. They have their own corporation in there, but I've never seen it traded on the stock market. And I wouldn't even know how to buy a stock, but there's people that can get it and they make money on top of money. And then they have things that they do inside these little systems to build things. And it's supposed to benefit the workers as well. But what ends up happening is all the big wigs clog it up with all their stuff and you never get the benefit of it. It's a Ponzi scheme, in my opinion.
Yeah, they're trying to open at least one or two in Pennsylvania, and people are pissed because they're literally buying out like old Amazon warehouses. Mm-hmm. That's what they're trying to use to make it, and it's just.
Rachel Maddow did a thing on that. Did Andrea, Nitra, and August? Did you guys talk about that yesterday? Because they've been shutting it down. There's a whole, I didn't pull it in today. I thought you guys were going to talk about it yesterday. But those ICE facilities, they've been trying to put those up all around the country, and the citizens of those counties and cities are saying, hell no.
But not in Texas. They building them all by the border here.
Well, I'm surprised because I think at least one of them they're trying to build in Pennsylvania is a very red county. And sure, you see some of the trolls and bots being like, woohoo, but a majority of the people are not having it.
Yeah.
It's one thing to see it. It's another thing to talk about and idealize about it. But when it starts coming to your neighborhood, a neighborhood near you, it can be a little uncomfortable.
And a lot of Republicans are moving to Texas. They want
a lot of people moving to Texas.
Yeah, but a lot of Republicans are moving from other states to here.
Speaking of that detention center in Texas, I believe that's what this little mini story is about. We won't play all of it.
Who's been representing clients in one of these concentration camps in Texas.
Dilley, Texas, south of San Antonio. This particular camp was built in 2014 under the Obama administration. Then Biden shut it down in 2024. And then because it's there for family detention in particular, and the Trump administration obviously reopened it. So this is an immigration lawyer. These are two clips. He was going there to visit one of his clients. Let's play the first one before this. 20, yeah. So when he was there meeting with a client, he was kind of told he had to leave and chased out of the camp, the detention center, concentration camp, and he was recording screams from inside, and you'll hear what those screams are. But it's a libertad. I don't speak Spanish, but it let us go, and I think freedom or liberty. But you'll hear children. Sorry.
Libertad.
Libertad. Thank you. These are children's screams.
I'm outside. I'm outside.
You're not allowed.
It doesn't say out here. And I've just been ordered to leave the premises. And she's yelling at me right now. So I'm going to head back to my car and try and keep you abreast of the situation.
All right, let's go to the second video here. So this is the facility, by the way, that Liam, the boy in the blue hat that was photographed. I'm sorry, I have his name here. Liam, I'm sorry, I forget his last name. But this is where Liam Ramos and his father are being held. And so I think it seems like the other folks being held in this camp got word that this was like kind of a bit of a national outrage, and they were staging a protest in support of him and trying to get the word out there.
And I think this lawyer is also going to explain they had heard about what was going on in the general strike in Minnesota. He wasn't sure how they found out about it because there's no internet there, but it was inspiring.
The 1860s resonance gets even stronger.
I'm outside of the Dilley facility here in South Texas. There's a demonstration of detainees taking place inside right now. We were all asked to leave. There's a drone flying up ahead right now. It's an extremely bizarre situation. You can hear them shouting. Can you hear that? They're shouting, "Let us out, let us out." There's people in blue shirts. Again, there's drones flying up ahead. There appear to be hundreds of people through the crack that I can see. And again, I was here for an attorney visit and they asked me to leave abruptly without telling me why, ordering people who were waiting to stand outside in the cold. And I'll try and keep you updated as to what is happening.
I'm going to stop that right here before I lose it.
It's hard to watch, but y'all got to look at it because
I know.
You got to look.
Where's the mainstream media?
Excuse me for a minute.
Where's the mainstream media?
Mm-hmm. The Washington Post is getting rid of hundreds of reporters. They don't want you to know.
The mainstream media is being paid by the same people who are covering up all the other things. Let's be real.
You're right, Nita. This has to get out because this can't change. This can't change until people.
And they're trying to scare Don Lemon and anybody else in independent media.
I feel like I'm standing outside of Treblinka or Birkenau or something, Auschwitz, and I can hear the screaming, but we're not doing anything about it. It's even if you have to do it, you have to do it humanely. That is not how we do things. That's not how we're supposed to, and shame on them.
So I saw that video last week, and so I'm going to be honest. I had to mute when it was playing this time because once was enough. It's to hear the screams of children is no, like, I don't understand what kind of psychopath. Like, I mean, you have to be a psychopath not to have a reaction to that. And what is so hard is like we can't immediately go down there and like free them.
Right.
And I don't want to feel like I'm complicit in the suffering, the harm and suffering of these people, because I don't think they belong there. And so it's like, what do we do? What more can we do?
We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about that.
Keep putting it. Don't stop talking.
What we have to do. Anybody else? I knew this was going to be hard.
But so to my point, like, also, I saw this last week. And so when you ask where's the mainstream media, exactly. This is not new at this point.
They're talking about the Super Bowl and the Rose Bowl and who won the national championship. And I'm watching it. Even the local news is on that bull crap.
Husband may have killed his wife. I saw that.
I'm like, okay, she dead already. Next. She ain't the only person that died last week or this week. And there's some children that went missing this week. You still got crimes against children and all this different stuff. And they worry about who wore what in the Grammys. I could give a damn. Although I didn't watch.
How do the people work there? That was a woman who was telling him to leave. How the hell does she work there?
How do they sleep at night? How do any of these people that work at the detention centers or in ICE or any of the, how do they justify anything that they're doing?
I was thinking that, but I thought about it back in the day before I went into healthcare. I started, we had to learn about Willowbrook. Everybody knows about the Willowbrook and, of course, the Tuskegee experiment and all these different things that people did. And you think, how did the people work there knowing these things, throwing kids all together, letting the bigger ones predatorize on the little ones, putting kids that couldn't speak in cages, things like that. This is just what they do, and there's always somebody to take the damn job, and that's the problem. But if there's no consequences, then they had to put consequences, and guess what they did? They didn't fix it. They shut them down.
And I think also, like Linda's saying, they probably dehumanize these people. They probably, in their mind, rationalize it as they've done something wrong. They are not as good of a person as I am or as the other people who work here. So they belong here. They deserve what they're getting. And they probably compartmentalize. Like mentally, they're probably really fucked in the head. But they have come up with...
You would have to think that the person is less or not as human as you in order to do it. Or you got to be... I'm kind of like Chris Rock. We're having a plain old crazy. Some people just crazy. And some people are money whores. They'll do anything for a buck. They fuck for a buck and do something strange for some change. Yeah, I said it.
I drove down to San Antonio, and if you get close, they have security all around it, armed security, and they tell you to turn around. You don't even get close. They make you turn around.
They don't want us to see what's in there.
You should not be able to do anything. You shouldn't do anything you don't want people to see. If you can't talk about it, then don't do it. It should be that simple, but I know it's not.
Supposedly, Biden had shut this place down. And then Trump reopened.
Trump opened it. He did.
Is that true, Andrea?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like I said, he got Abbott. Abbott and Trump are buddies with all capital letters. They are buddies.
They keep calling Obama's name, saying that, oh, well, he was the one who had this, but it wasn't for that purpose. It was never for that purpose.
Right.
But they would spin just to let people keep calling Obama's name because they don't want you to look at who's really doing the crime.
And they want to get rid of Obamacare. They did because they don't want you to have no health insurance either. They don't care about us.
Well, regardless of whoever doing what, it's got to be stopped now. We know
No,
about it now, so damn
they,
it, we got to do something about it
yeah,
now.
keep talking
Linda,
about it.
yeah, Linda, you're right. Step back up. It's no different than what the Nazis did to the Jews.
No, it's absolutely not any different. Not any different at all.
Not as bad yet. We don't know how bad it could get.
Who knows though what's happening behind? This is some of the stuff that they're letting us somewhat even see. So who knows?
We don't know.
And there's so many little small crimes going on a local level, as national. It's like everybody's doing stuff. It's just an uptick in mayhem, it seems like. And I think it's not going to go anywhere because people are so at their wits' end that their mental health is screwed. And sometimes people do things they take in too. If I can help my family, the end justifies the means. And sometimes you can fix your head where you have cognitive dissonance where I'm not a part of this, but I'm not able to do that personally. But there are people that can.
Not if you're a humanitarian at all.
No.
Not if you care about people at all. And what makes me ill, these kids are in there, they're scared to death, they've been traumatized. These families came here for a better life, and this is where they ended up. And I don't recognize my country.
No.
I don't know. It's evil.
When I look at Tilt 10, I think of it as the mark of the beast.
I gotta push back on that. This is not different from what was done to enslaved people. There was some.
That is true, but it hasn't been us in modern history, I guess. In our
we didn't know.
We've made progress. We had made progress.
We didn't know.
We had made progress, but now we've gone completely backwards.
They're running out of children, so they getting everybody's children now. They're getting white, black, Mexicans. They're getting everybody's children, Asian.
I guess I'm thinking about the fact that this country's never atoned for its sins, and so the things keep repeating because we allow this behavior to continue and fester without any kind of punishment or rectifying the situation. And so until we do that, it's just going to keep continuing. There'll be times when it's out in the open, and there are going to be times when it's underground. But we got to stop this shit because this is unacceptable.
Absolutely.
Houston is an underground city, and one of my sons told me, he said, "Mommy, they got an underground city in Houston." He told me how to get to it, but I still haven't figured out how to get down there. He passed before I got a chance to figure it out.
Mo, did you have something?
No, I was just going to say, if you're a parent, you can just equate it to disciplining children. If you just continue to let your children misbehave and there are no consequences, they're going to keep on doing the same thing over and over and over again. It's just like Keisha said, we have never atoned for the original sins of this country. And until we face that and have a real dialogue about it and do something about it, there needs to be consequences for waving a Confederate flag. It's a treasonous flag.
And they do that here.
There needs to be consequences to things. And until we do that, we're just going to keep repeating the same bad behaviors over and over and over again.
What they do is move it from country to country.
It's
well, we don't even admit that we stole America. I say we, because I didn't have nothing to do with it. But I'm saying we don't even admit that we came in here. The people was already here, and we found somebody's backyard and took it. We act like it's ours. So that in itself, we need to atone for that as well, and what we did to the Native Americans and all that, and going on and on, because it's all fruit. And so America is fruit of this poisoned soil. There's a lot of bodies in there. It's a lot of blood. And I live in a town that's named after a Native American, and they have the mounds here, and it's just real disrespectful.
Jazzy brings up a good point of just like that's why people don't want to know their history. And even when you're in school and like elementary school and learning about history, it's so Disneyfied, like basically. And it's like, oh, Christopher Columbus founded America, and just like I would rather I love history. I love going to museums. I love learning. And I would rather learn the truth than be fed these lies any day.
If you read the Bible the way it's supposed to be read and don't start making it all frou-frou, it's quite the tawdry book.
That's right.
Yeah, that's a whole nother show. I just want to acknowledge Linda's post about the Nuremberg trials, because when this is over, that is the equivalent. That is what we are going to need in this. And then Keisha, you brought up something before we went live, and that's about the veil. And that is simply the truth being revealed. Because sometimes I think as Americans, especially in a certain generation, we've been sheltered from a lot of things. Like you're talking about history. We didn't get real history, right? We got it whitewashed, basically. So we are now seeing the truth of what humanity is, on both the negative and the positive, because there still is positive, but we are seeing the evil. And that's my segue into the next topic, which is Epstein. So I don't know if y'all have followed the recent release of the Epstein files, which there's some things that I've been learning that, well, we'll talk about that in a minute. Let's just hear a little bit about what's going on with that.
Has been supposed to release far more Epstein files than they ever planned to. We got millions on Friday that shed light on Epstein's powerful circle, including individuals with close ties to both parties and the current president, Donald Trump. Thousands of messages with Steve Bannon. 2 hours of new footage, never before seen, although we'd reported on its existence. Bannon interviewing Epstein. They had become allies of sorts. Bannon trying to help rehab Epstein's reputation. This was shot in 2019.
Do you think you're the devil himself?
No, but I do have a good mirror.
It's a serious question.
Sorry.
Do you think you're the devil himself?
I don't know. Why would you say that?
Because you have all the attributes. You're incredibly smart. You remember the devil is somebody knows the devil's brilliant. You read Milton's Paradise Lost.
No, the devil scares me.
Video goes on like that. Bannon never actually put out what he said was going to be that project. There'd be obvious reasons why. A current Trump cabinet member, Howard Lutnick, appears in email exchanges that discuss a potential trip to Epstein's Island. This was in 2012, along with his family on a vacation, but it was years after Lutnick has publicly claimed that he had cut all ties with Epstein. These files, which otherwise would never have come out, appearing to undercut what was a Lutnick strategy. Why? One would think he would remember this effort to be in contact with him. There are other names like Brett Ratner, who directed the Melania documentary that Amazon paid so much for and just came out. He's in a photograph with Epstein and an unidentified woman. Or a big, powerful law firm, Paul Weiss, has its chair, Brad Karp. They recently struck one of those big deals, giving millions to Trump last year through pro bono work. And he had what seemed to be friendly interactions with Epstein. Paul Weiss now says he regrets them. Trump also, of course, is in the files. The New York Times says over 5,000 times with references to Trump and Mar-a-Lago, and there were other related words about their family. As for Trump, Bannon, and Lutnick and Ratner, we should note these new disclosures don't involve any criminal wrongdoing, more just violations of their own statements or claims to have cut ties with Epstein. Republican lawmakers are also focused on the Clintons. There is now a deal afoot to have them give a deposition about all this. All eyes also on Maxwell, Epstein's convicted associate. She will be deposed on Monday. That comes after the DOJ held a very unusual and suspicious meeting between the Deputy Attorney General and her. The Trump DOJ also, under the same individual, Todd Blanche, had this to say.
We will always investigate any evidence of misconduct, but as you know, it is not a crime to party with Mr. Epstein. And so as horrible as it's not a crime to email with Mr. Epstein. The American people need to understand that it isn't a crime to party with Mr. Epstein. It isn't a crime to have
Didn't look like that's all that was going on some of those photos.
Duh.
You could hear a little Fox News pushback on Todd Blanche's talking point. It's true, there shouldn't be guilt by association. Being in the emails or at a, quote, party is not itself a crime. But the problem is how this Trump DOJ seems to have avoided pursuing any leads. We now have a chart that we reported on Friday showing all the potential associates of Mr. Epstein, only one, Maxwell, actually prosecuted. Here's Congressman Khanna.
At the very least, every single person who went to Epstein's Island should have an investigation. Just to say, oh, these were just rich people who were playboys, that's just disrespectful to these survivors.
We are still in the journalistic community going through what are millions of documents, files, photos, videos, and we will continue reporting out what we know in context.
Okay, we're going to stop right there. There's some pretty sick things they found in this place. Let me, which one is that? Yeah, let me pull up this this article.
Yeah, the devil scares me. You are the devil.
Jesus.
Get it yourself.
Yeah, so powerful people. Random redactions. The other redaction thing was really quite interesting, wasn't it? They redact the men involved, but they don't redact the victims. That's kind of basically some of what I saw. The release of millions of pages raised more questions. I can't talk about the investigation, but I will say, which is that in July, Department of Justice said that we had reviewed the files. There was nothing in there that allowed us to prosecute anybody. Jesus fucking, I'm sorry. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? The
We're
liars.
The truth. You're not gonna get the truth.
Look at.
I mean, but they lying in our face.
And
Like
they
we
don't care.
stupid, some old gumps or something. That's where I'm from. We call trying to get the players for the Okie.
Well, and this is true because I went into the database. I went into the library. The files aren't shared in chronological order at all. They're not grouped in any way. They're just kind of, you have to go through them one by one by one.
And you know how long that would take.
Yeah. Epstein's connections are vast and personal, really.
Wasn't it the first round of redactions that they even messed that up? Like they black highlighted stuff, so if you highlighted it yourself, you could still see everything. Like
I'd heard about that. I tried a couple. I don't know which ones they were talking about, which wasn't the case, but there could have been.
Yeah.
Oh, the ones where they could de-redact. Yeah, they could do something like copy and paste it, and it would show up.
There's
We haven't heard from that girl anymore.
Second batch was different.
What happened to that girl?
And speaking of lies, then today on the news tonight, they said that the guy who tried to shoot him at Mar-a-Lago got life sentence today. We ain't seen this man since he was in the bushes. Ain't heard about no trial or nothing. What the hell's going on? Why?
Yeah. Let me stop sharing that. I want to share this. And I know Linda, if you're still out there, I think Linda or one of my other girlfriends shared this on our thread that we have. And it was disturbing. So beware. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's quite long. But let me just kind of read a couple things and paraphrase something. Whoops. Oh, shoot. Where am I going? Okay. Hang on. I'm just trying to zoom in a little bit here on this one, but I'll read it. So this is a think piece. How bad is it? Duncan Lewis, criminal defense attorney, criminal defense lawyer. Right out of the gate, the public is not ready for what is in the Epstein files. And he says, yeah, it sounds condescending. But when prosecutors, defense attorneys, police officers, detectives, probation officers, etc., they have a good reason why they're saying that. And he goes on to explain his story about a case about child pornography specifically, and the materials that he had to look at. And he says usually there's no reason for a defense attorney to view it unless there's possible defense for that. For example, the images don't cross the line, etc. But when you practice for 40 years, you've seen some stuff, some horrible stuff, autopsy photos, etc. I won't go into that, but you can hear a phrase like child rape, or he possessed 15K CP images and videos, and know that it's an ultimate evil. And we know this, right? Our brains evolved to protect us. And so when you look at these things, you can't unsee them. He went in to look at a binder. And there was a box of tissues. He approached the binder full of laminated sheets with images. It was put, because he was a defense attorney, it was put on the table before him. He said he took a breath, opened the first page. There were anywhere from 6 to 10 images per page. He stopped breathing by the time he turned the first page to the second, turned to the third, and said, I've seen enough. He closed the book, and in the next 15 seconds, he felt horrible grief, anguish, and rage. He says, I had no say over whether to cry or not. I grabbed tissues and apologized because he was sobbing. But I saw them. I saw what adults do to children. I saw what adults force children to do. I saw what they do to babies. These are not post shots. These are still videos. This man knows, and I'm going to skip because
you shouldn't read this.
I know, but people say this can't happen. But it does happen.
It has happened. It is happening.
It has happened. And so he says, I'm sorry to tell you this, but even now a tiny part of me hopes it's wrong. But what happened on that island and on those farms will be the ultimate evil. He talks about gang rapes, murders, orgies with children, snuff films, children tortured, animals beaten, and I can't do anymore, but this is what we're dealing with. And people will kill to keep this stuff quiet.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know where we go from here except this. Except we have to force people. We have to force our government to hold people accountable. We have to vote in the right people to begin with. And we have to demand that these things somehow get investigated, prosecuted, and stopped. Because we know we're not naive. We know this has been going on a very long time. And people have been profiting from this stuff for a very long
When
time.
your Supreme Court won't even let you talk about it, they know exactly what's going on. And they done told Trump he can do whatever he needs to do in the name of our country. He's the president.
Well, how many times
birds of a feather.
this mentioned in the Epstein files?
I know he got so many. I don't believe we're going to ever find out the complete truth. I just found out in the past 10 years that my education.
The problem is, if we find out the complete truth, even if we did, ain't going to be a damn thing done about it. And
that's what I say too.
it makes me look at people different, especially if you keep coming up. I understand there's coincidences and different things that happen. I'm not stupid, but these people knew. At least let's say 200 of them knew, and not one of them said a damn thing about it. Shame on them.
I still want to know what happened to Jean-Benet Ramsey.
There's legal
I'm sorry,
consequences and then there's societal consequences, right?
but you're right.
Yes.
So there's an example of a professor at UCLA, Mark Tramo, I don't know how to say his last name, Tramo, who wrote a disgusting email to Jeffrey Epstein that I wish I'd never read because I don't need to know the depths of human depravity. But there was one woman, like UCLA students wrote about him, like, we need to get rid of this man. UCLA hadn't done anything for days. This one woman wrote on social media that she stood outside of the building where he worked and screamed that he's a pedophile for an hour. She screamed at the top of her lungs. She held a sign. And like after an hour, someone like high up came out of the building and said, we have decided not to renew his status as a teacher on this campus. And it's not exactly what we want. I would prefer to see people like charred and feathered in the guillotine, whatever. But societal consequences make a difference because this is everything for some of these people. Their standing, their reputation matters a lot. If we take away the way that they make an income, the way that they have a reputation, the way that they have respect, like with Peter Attia, who was going to be working for CBS News and is now not going to be working for CBS News. Bye, bitch. This is what you get. And hopefully you get worse than that. So I want to see legal consequences, but I also know the societal consequences matter a lot. And we're going to see a lot of that because people are not going to let this
That's
go.
going to be the main consequence.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to acknowledge Linda's comment because this is true. They released the victim info to show them that they can get to them and their families. That was no accident. I agree with Linda on that. This is something has to be done. When this is over, when this administration is gone, we have to start demanding because, like I said, this has been going on for a long time.
Mm-hmm. As soon as they start running for the next election, which including the midterms, you won't have to say something to me for me to but the big election too, the small elections as well.
I think something that's important to remember is right now there are other countries, especially I believe in Europe, that are starting to not criminalize, like assess the files and the people that are in their country that were involved. So I think that even though we're having trouble trying to save ourselves, I think Europe is going to pick up the slack and actually take it seriously.
Well, they certainly have Prince Andrew. I mean, they have a real defining photograph at this point. I mean, there's no doubt. But nothing's really done about him. But
his mother believed right away.
And he brought women to the castle. The audacity.
They playing around on the furniture and stuff. Sit down, Louis the Eighth. That's Louis the Eighth.
He really thought he was so untouchable. He brought women to the castle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's how he got them there, right?
Yeah, and he'd been doing that for a long.
Well, see, that's the lure. It's like okay, if you have horses and you know I like horses, you're gonna bring me in. I like candy. I like puppies. It's kind of like the Green Mile. They hurt you with your love. The things you love is your lure, and that's how they do it all over the world.
Agree. Okay, let's take a deep breath. Sorry I got emotional on that one, but it's hard when you have a new
I would hug you if we were in person.
We understand.
But yeah, I understand. I got it. Well, we deal with it all differently, and for me, I wish I could cry about it. Mine goes.
I let it build up. I let it build up.
Yeah,
So let's shift gears.
August on the
August, I'm
moon.
going to let you take it.
Wow. Well, my segment tonight will focus on definitely Rachel Maddow. I think that she can bring some calm to this and some perspective. Let's hear from
City,
Rachel.
they passed a 5-year moratorium on any non-municipal detention facility of any kind being built in Kansas City. That moratorium is designed specifically to stop Trump from putting a prison camp in Kansas City. They say they're ready to defend that in court. And meanwhile, the local real estate company in Kansas City that has reportedly been working with ICE to try to site this prison camp in Kansas City. Well, the local port district in Kansas City is considering cutting off all business with that company in response to their work with ICE. I should also say that local company is just getting dragged through it in the local press. Headline, the Kansas City Star, quote, "The brothers behind Platform Ventures could choose not to sell out Kansas City to ICE." From that op-ed, quote, "Drop the deal, eat the embarrassment, find another buyer, make a clean break and say plainly that you don't want your legacy tied to masked men hauling people out of their homes and into warehouses on the edge of town. The alternative is a lifetime of being whispered about behind your backs everywhere from church fundraisers to the crown seats of the Royals game. People remember, you aren't breaking the law, but you also could choose not to be the villain in this story. You could decide not to treat this moment as just another business transaction. People would remember that too." That's Kansas City. Again, the mayor will be here in just a moment for tonight's show. Surprise, Arizona. ICE has already bought a warehouse in Surprise, Arizona, to develop apparently into a huge prison camp there. But more than 1,000 people turned out in Surprise, Arizona this weekend to say, don't do it, we don't want it here. In Tucson, Arizona, the local press says 6,000 people packed the downtown protesting against ICE this weekend. But hey, Tucson, just a half hour outside Tucson in Marana, Arizona, M-A-R-A-N-A, just northwest of Tucson. Locals there are protesting. This is Pima County. There's a group that's formed there against a planned Trump prison camp in Marana, Arizona. It's called Price for Pima Resists ICE. They've got a petition going. They're doing everything they can to try to stop a Trump prison camp from going in there as well. Again, that's just a half an hour from Tucson. Near Hagerstown, Maryland, in a place called Williamsport, ICE has already bought the warehouse there that they want to turn into a huge Trump prison camp. We have seen U.S. senators and members of Congress and locals protesting to try to stop that just outside Hagerstown, Maryland. But it's not the only place in Maryland. An hour and a half away from there in Howard County, Maryland, a place called Elk Ridge. ICE apparently wants to build another Trump prison camp there. Well, today, look at this. The Howard County, Maryland County Executive, his name is Calvin Ball. Tonight, he announced that as of this evening, he is revoking the building permit for the facility where they were doing the build out to try to form a Trump prison camp there as well. Watch.
As we continue to witness the devastating consequences of federal enforcement actions across our nation, including loss of life and civil unrest, it is more important than ever that local government acts with clarity, restraint, and compassion. And it is our responsibility as local leaders to act before harm occurs and not after. Today, my director of inspections, licenses, and permits revoked the building permit for this detention center. Together, we will stand united, work collectively together, and safeguard our community and stand up for dignity. That concludes my remarks.
That concludes my remarks. That is the County Executive of Howard County, Maryland. His name is Calvin Ball, announcing tonight that the county government is revoking the building permit for Trump's prison camp that they were trying to build in Elk Ridge, Maryland. If they build them, they will fill them. And there's different forms of leverage available for various facilities of these kinds, right? If they want to build them on military bases or in other facilities they've already got federal control of, there's little leverage to be able to stop them from building those facilities. Once they've built them or they got those facilities open, people absolutely can still show up and protest the heck out of those facilities, which you have seen even just over the last few days. For example, at the gates of the prison camp in Dilley, Texas. In Dilley, Texas, they're holding men, women, and children there. Dilley, Texas is where the prisoners themselves revolted inside the facility in peaceful protest last week, reportedly when they heard about the protests nationwide over what had happened in Minneapolis. Dilley, Texas is where 5-year-old Liam Ramos was sent from Minneapolis, before a judge this weekend ordered him and his father freed and sent home. But Dilley is where hundreds of other kids are still being held. And there is now, the government admits, a measles outbreak. Oh, good. People have been protesting regularly at the gates of Dilley now in Texas. People have also been protesting regularly at Fort Bliss, at Camp East, Montana, where at least 3 people have died in just the past 2 months, including one man whose death has been ruled a homicide by the local medical examiner. I mean, in the existing prison camps they've got, Trump is already holding more than 73,000 people right now, which is a record. They want to build 16 new processing facilities and 7 new huge warehouse facility camps. If they build those, if they can build those 23 new facilities that they've said they want to build in these communities that I've been describing all over the country, if they can build those 23 new facilities, that'll give them the space to more than double the number of people they're holding in the camps. The biggest one they've got right now holds about 3,000 people. That's the one at Fort Bliss, where 3 people have died in the past 8 weeks. Again, about 3,000 people are there now. There's already people regularly dying there. 3,000 people there now. They want their new prison camps to be closer to 10,000 people. What do you think those facilities are going to be run?
That's it. That's all I have for you tonight. Back over to you.
We the people unite. That's what's stopping these facilities. We the people are uniting. That is what's stopping these facilities. We need to keep going. They don't want to deport people. They want to hold them in concentration camps.
Mm-hmm.
But before we go, I thought we needed a palate cleanser. It's not a funny per se funny, but I found it kind of funny.
Showing of the Brett Ratner Melania documentary. There are 10 people here. 9 of them are journalists. 1 is a friend of somebody who's a designer on the film set. Yeah, that was a mess of a movie. It was basically a long dress fitting for Melania Trump. 3rd page of the shot, 4th page of the shot. Nothing crooked about this at all. And it is interesting to find out that Donald Trump is exactly the same with journalists as he is with his wife. He's telling, I want every state, and she's like, clearly disinterested.
Nothing like it has happened before, ever. It's a landslide.
That's for sure.
Looks like it's going to be about 312 to 226.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
It's just these long, boring shots of her going from a helicopter to a car, and then her sitting in a car, and then getting her clothes tailored. Everyone's afraid of her. There's like no warmth.
Our mission is to safeguard our children.
It kind of was like a subtly anti-Trump movie, because every time Donald Trump was on screen, he was kind of being ridiculous.
Beautiful art and amazing history here.
Take a look at this. Floyd Levin.
Did you just call him Floyd Levin? Yes. 3 days doing what she does. And guess what? What she does is really boring.
Not Floyd.
Floyd, isn't that Floyd?
Raymond Picasso.
Did y'all see that there was a Guardian review of Melania, and there was a correction to the article? So the original article gave it 1 star out of 5. And the correction at the top of the article, like a day later, said, "We mistakenly gave this film 1 star. The writer meant to give it 0 stars." And it was
She's going to be very mad about the whole situation.
My favorite review I've seen of it was, I'd walk out of this movie even if I was on a plane.
That's my favorite. They said that's it.
Okay. I thought we needed a palate cleanser before we left, and I thought that was a good one.
Could I give you a moment of woo-woo?
Yes.
If you don't mind. So I had been reading like a couple years ago about the rise of the matriarchy, because we are in a patriarchal society. And I was like, how is that going to happen? And with all the things coming out about all these terrible men, all the horrible things they're doing, it's starting to become more clear how that path to matriarchy can work. But what I want to point out about what a matriarchal society could look like is it's not just women being in charge. When you think about how lions, like female lions, are in their pride, they are cooperative, it's egalitarian, it's a community, they're looking out for each other. So it's not that women would take over and subjugate men the way we've been subjugated. It's that it would be a more egalitarian, cooperative society. There's still a place for everyone, men and women included. But hopefully, what Jazzy's saying, it's more nurturing, it's more protective, it's more about ruling by consensus, not by control.
Right.
And so I would love to see that happen.
Yeah.
Plus, male lions, all they do is literally sleep all day, so they would never be involved in anything. So
give them a game controller.
Yes,
there you go, honey.
Give them an Xbox. Just let them go.
Here you go. Oh, all right, everybody. Thank you, everybody in the chat, for hanging with us and for your comments. We really appreciate you. Yeah, Jazzy, nurturing and protecting. Oh, mama bears are fierce. No, yeah.
We don't mess with us mama bears.
Yeah, mama bears are fierce. So
yes, they are.
Keep just these things in mind about what can we do to protect the children. Because it's, as citizens, as society, it's our responsibility to protect these children, and we want to. Right?
Oh, there's James. Hello.
So, we'll see you on Friday for our roundtable.
Yes, please.
We won't make it this
Forget to
heavy.
like.
Thank you, Jazzy.
Yes.
Thanks, Jazzy. Thanks, Linda. Thanks. Who
An
else?
angry army vet.
He signed. Yep. Angry army
Thumbs
vet.
up, like,
James,
subscribe.
thank you, James. Hello, fam.
Hi.
Hello,
See
fam.
you there.
Hey, James.
Miss you. West 156. We miss you too. Hi. You know who that is, don't you? All right, everybody. We'll see you Friday. Bye.
We the people unite.